Okay, so we're going to continue to do some more mixed past paper questions. So the first question is on functions. So this is what we call a composite function. Basically, we need to find the function of g first and then substitute that into the function of h, and then we put the minus 2 as the x. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So function gx is this. I'm going to substitute 1 minus 2x into the function hx. So that means 3 to the power of 1 minus 2x. Okay? That's going to be my answer. And basically, I now need to substitute minus 2 into that. So it becomes 1 minus 2 times minus 2, which becomes plus 4, which is 3 to the 1 plus 4, which is 3 to the 5. If you do that on your calculator, you get 243 as your answer. Okay, next one. G to the minus 1 of x. So this is going to be the inverse of g. So if g is 1 minus 2x, it's going to be, basically, how do I do this? I'm going to make y 1 minus 2x. I'm going to solve for x, so it becomes y minus 1 over minus 2 is x. Then I'm going to switch the y into x, so that my g to the minus 1 is equal to x minus 1 over minus 2. Okay? So if you see from the original function, instead of plussing 1 to the x, I'm minusing 1. Instead of multiplying by a minus 2, I'm dividing by a minus 2. Okay, so there's two ways of doing this question. Okay? And that's my answer. My answer is x minus 2 over minus 2. Okay? Solve the equation function of x is equal to 0. Show all your working and give your answer correct to 2 decimal places. Okay, so in this question I am going to use the quadratic formula. Okay, quadratic formula is this: x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. Okay? So, just to clarify, I'll write it out for you. X squared plus x minus 1. Here's my a, my b, and my c. So my a is 1, my b is 1, and my c is minus 1. So, if I put in the numbers, this is minus 1 plus or minus 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times minus 1 divided by 2 times 1. Okay, so that translates to minus 1 plus or minus 1 squared is 1, minus 4 times 1 times minus 1 becomes plus 4, so it becomes square root of 5 over 2. Okay, so my two answers will be minus 1 plus square root of 5 over 2, or minus 1 minus square root of 5 over 2. Okay, and if you put that in your calculators, did that sum in your calculators, you would get these values: minus 1.62 or 0.62. Okay, those are your answers. Next question. Again, composite function. Let's do g first. So g is 1 minus 2x, f(x) is x squared plus x plus 1. So I'm going to put this into the x's. So what does that mean? It means 1 minus 2x squared plus 1 minus 2x plus 1. Okay, so I've done my first substitution. I need to expand this out. 1 minus 2x times 1 minus 2x plus 1 minus 2x plus 1. This becomes 1 squared minus 2x, okay, minus 2x plus 4x squared. Okay, now I can collect like terms, so I'll just write this out again for you. So let's do the 1. So I've got a 1 here, plus 1, so that gives me 3. What about the 2x's? There's 3 of them, so it's minus 6x plus 4x squared. So I'll just write it out like this. So my final answer is going to be 4x squared minus 6x plus 3. Okay, just realize in the function x, this actually is a minus 1. Okay, so I need to change these to minus 1s. Okay, so that means we end up with 1 plus 1 minus 1, so that's 2 minus 1, gives me just 1, so this is plus 1, okay? So that's the answer to that question. Right, next question. Hassan stores books in large boxes and small boxes. Each large box holds 20 books and each small box holds 10 books. He has X large boxes and Y small boxes. He has X large boxes and Y small boxes. Hassan must store at least 200 books. Show that 2x plus y is greater or equal to 20. So, if I just say 20x plus 10y, okay, has to be greater or equal to 200 books. Okay, we can clearly say if we divide this by 10, okay, everything by 10, we get 2x plus y is greater than 20. Okay, so the x represents the large boxes and the y represents the small boxes, and we get what that inequality it shows us in that question. Okay, right, next question. Hassan must not use more than 15 boxes. He must use at least 3 small boxes. The number of small boxes must be less than or equal to the number of large boxes. Write down 3 inequalities to show this information. He must not use more than 15 boxes. So I'm going to put an x, so a large box plus a small box must be less than or equal to 15 boxes, because that's all he can use. He must use at least 3 small boxes. Okay, y is 3 small boxes. Oh, sorry, y represents small boxes, so it's going to be greater or equal to 3. Lastly, the number of small boxes must be less than or equal to the number of large boxes. Okay, so small boxes is going to be less than or equal to x. Okay. On the grid, show the information in part A and part B by drawing 4 straight lines and shading the unwanted regions. So, this inequality, y is less than or equal to x, okay, translates to a y equals x line, okay, which is this line here. So it goes from the origin to the 20 point there, okay? Now, the next inequality is y is greater or equal to 3. That translates to a y is equal to 3 line, okay? And that's the y equals 3 line. Next inequality is this. X plus y is less than or equal to 15, okay? Now, that line is, if basically, I will rewrite that inequality like this. Y is equal to minus x. All I've done is just minus the x from that side and moved it to this side, plus 15. Okay, so you can see on this graph that this line here crossing the 15 plus 15 is the y-intercept, and it's got a negative x gradient. Minus x is this line here. Okay, so that's that inequality, and it says the y has to be less. Yeah, it says the y has to be less than it. Okay, so that means and the question asks us to shade the unwanted regions. So the inequality says we want what's underneath this, so we shade everything on top of it. Okay, so that's what we've done there. The y equals 3 line, let's have a look at this inequality here. It says we want what is greater than 3. So let's shade what's unwanted, so it's everything below it, which is this bit here. And the y equals x line, it says y is less than x. So if this is the y equals x line, we want everything below it, so we shade everything on top of it. Okay, finally the last inequality, or the last line we need to draw is this line here, okay, or this inequality. 2x plus y is greater or equal to 20. Okay, if we rearrange this, or we make y the subject, so that means y minus 2x, bring it on that side, plus 20, translates to this line here. Okay, notice it crosses plus 20, that's the intercept there, and it's got a minus 2x gradient. Okay, to work out how to plot this line and this line, okay, basically you need to substitute x equals 0, okay, in this equation, and you'll get y equals 15. And to get this point here, you need to substitute x as 0, y as 0, and you'll get x as 15. Okay, same process here. If you substitute x as 0, you'll get y as 20. If you substitute y as 0, you'll get x as 10. Okay, over here. So, pause the video just to make sure you can do that. And anyway, lastly, let's do this inequality. So basically, we want everything greater than y. Okay, or y needs to be greater than 20. It needs to be greater than this line. So, what does that mean? We actually want this region, so we need to shade everything below it. Okay, so what are we left with? We're left with this point here, which is the desired region. So this is 6 marks. So if you did all of this and if you shaded the unwanted regions correctly, you would have got 6 marks. Okay, so that's the end of that question. A large box costs $5 and a small box costs $2. Find the least possible total cost of the boxes. Okay, so how do we do this? Basically, it's a 1 mark question. We need to look at our... So, we know that large boxes, which is x, represented by x, and y boxes are $2. So, I need to find the smallest value of x, because it's $5 a box. So if I go in between here, 6 and 8, that's 7. So it brings me up here or here, okay? So I've got 2 choices essentially. I can either pick 7 small boxes or 6 small boxes, okay? If I pick 7 times $5 and 6 times $2, I think that's going to be my cheapest option, okay? Compared to 7 and 7 small boxes, okay? So that's how we find the solution. Basically, I've pinpointed the smallest value or integer value that I can find in this region for the large boxes. Then I've picked the smallest integer value that's closest to that point or this line to give me the number of small boxes. So that's 7 times 5 plus 6 times 2. Okay? So the answer is going to be 7 times 5 plus 6 times 2, and that is equal to 47. So the answer is $47. We've already answered the next bit. Number of large boxes is 7. Number of small boxes is 6. Okay, that's the answer to that question. So first things first, we need to find the value of u. Okay, so let me tell you some basic rules first of all. So if this is my circle, okay, and I have 2 points here, okay, and then I decide to draw lines like this, okay, anywhere with the triangles, okay, there's a rule which states that this angle has to equal this angle, which has to equal that angle, which has to equal that angle. Okay, so if that was A, B, C, and D, means that angles A equals B equals C equals D. Okay? Right, another rule which you need to be aware of is this rule. So a quadrilateral, okay, any shaped quadrilateral in a circle like this. So just connect that up to the side. Okay, opposite sides will always add up to 180 degrees. So if this was A, if that was B, C, D, means A plus B is equal to 180 degrees and C plus D is equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so keeping those two rules in mind, let's attempt this question. So U is connected to this point and this point. So if you see clearly, this triangle BCD, okay, has the same points as angles A, or as triangle ABC, and I can see that this angle 38 has to be the same as that according to this rule. Okay, so my first answer is going to be 38 degrees. So I'm just going to label this as 38. Now we know that this is an isosceles triangle, meaning that that side is the same as this side. So that means this angle has to also equal 38 degrees. Okay, now we can also work out this angle by using this rule. Remember I said opposite sides of a quadrilateral in a circle add up to 180 degrees. So 102 plus some number has to equal 180, so it's going to be 78 degrees. So if we now know that 78 is present here, 38 is present there, 38 is present there, we've just got one unknown for all these angles to add up to 180 degrees in a triangle. So that means if we added all of them up together and minus 180 from them, we would get x to be 26 degrees. Okay? Now, notice that this point and this point, I'm now going to use this rule from this point and this point. Okay, A and B makes a triangle to C, but A and B also makes a triangle to D. So if this angle was 26, this angle here also is going to be 26. Okay, let's find W. I need to add 38 plus 26 plus 38 and do 180 minus that, and that will give me 78 degrees. Okay, if you did that in your calculator. Okay, so now that I've got 78, 26 plus that 78 plus 38 gives me 142, so that I can find V now. So 180 minus that is 38, so V is going to be 38 degrees. So I can put 38 degrees there. W is 78 degrees and X is 26 degrees. Okay, so hopefully you've seen what I've done. Just pause the video if there's anything that you're not sure of, and just rewind it until you get it. Okay, next question. So says here's a scale drawing showing the positions of 4 towns P, Q, R, and S on a map where 1 centimeter represents 10 kilometers. Okay, and then it says a nature reserve lies in the quadrilateral. The boundaries of the nature reserve are equidistance from Q and from R, and equidistance from P, S, and from PQ. And it's 60 kilometers from R and along QR. Okay, so basically, I have already drawn, just to save a bit of time, what you would have to have done. Okay, so first things first, we know that's it's equidistant from Q and R. So I need to work out, I need to do a perpendicular bisector here. Okay, you can do this two ways. Basically, if you had your protractor, and if your protractor's got a line like this, that means that line is 90 degrees to this vertical line here. So if you did a point there, okay, or did a horizontal line there and horizontal line there, or just did several points, then you could have added joined them together, and then you would have got a straight line, okay? The other thing it says, it's equidistance from PS, which is this line, and PQ. So I need to bisect this angle. How do I do it? So if you notice, all I've done, okay, I just picked any random point, okay, or any random length, okay, and then I've just drawn a line there, okay, drawn a line to the other side like that. Now what do I do? Without moving changing the length of the compass, I now just drew another line there, okay, and I move it to the other point, again same line there. Where they intersect is going to be the angle bisected. So then if I now just connect up point P to where they intersect, draw a straight line, and that's my equidistant line from PS and PQ. Okay, I've bisected the angle in half. Right, the other thing, it's 60 kilometers from R. Okay, now if 1 centimeter represents 10 kilometers, that means 60 kilometers is going to be 6 centimeters. Okay, so with your compass, you need to measure 6 centimeters from R, like that, along that, and then basically just draw a line going like that to show you that it's 60 kilometers from R. Okay, and lastly, along QR, that's the line QR, so our nature reserve is basically this shaded area in the middle. Okay, and that's for 7 marks. So, the last bit of that question, it says measure the bearing of S from P. Okay, so this is P, and I need to find the bearing towards S. How do I do that? Okay, so with my compass, okay, I know that a straight line is 180 degrees. Okay, so I know that angle there is 180 degrees. Okay, so I could, maybe I'll just put a point there. Sorry, do that again. Right. Okay, I know that's 180 degrees. Now, I'm now going to continue my 180 degrees. And I'm going to measure what length it is from this point. So I get 38 degrees on my compass. Okay, so that means I need to add 180, which was this length, plus 38. Okay, so that gives me 218 degrees. So the bearing is going to be 218 degrees. Okay, because it's 180 degrees plus 38 degrees, which is 218 degrees. Okay, and that's the answer to that question. Okay, next question says the diagram shows straight roads connecting the towns A, B, C, and D. Okay, AB is 17 kilometers, AC is 12 kilometers, and CD is 10 kilometers. Angle BAC is 30, angle ADC is 95 degrees. Okay, calculate angle CAD, which is this angle. Okay, so I'm going to use the sine rule, which is I'm going to use this length. Okay, so I'm going to do, this length divided by sine of that angle. So I'm going to do 12 over sine 95 is equal to 10 over sine A, which is the angle I'm trying to find. Now rearrange it. Sine A is equal to 10 times sine 95 divided by 12. Shift sine of that, so A is shift sine inverse of that, of this. Okay, that would give me 56.1. degrees. So 56.1 degrees to 1 decimal point, 3 significant figures. Right, next one. Calculate the distance BC. So I'm going to use the cosine rule, okay, and I'm going to do it in this form. A squared, so this is going to be my B and my C, and this is going to be my A, length A. Okay, so I just show that. This is going to be my B, my C, and this is going to be my A. Okay, so how does that work? So A squared, the length I'm looking for, is going to be B squared, which I've got, C squared, yes I've got, minus 2 times B times C times the cosine of that angle. So I know that the angle is 30, okay, and that's opposite the length of the triangle that I want to find. Okay, it's opposite it. Okay, so let's put in these numbers. So I'm going to do 12 squared from there, plus 17 squared from there, okay, minus 2 times 12 times 17 times cosine 30 degrees, okay, and that gives me 79.66, okay, that's A squared, but A is going to be the square root of that. So I get 8.9 centimeters km. 8.9, okay. So this is going to be 8.9 kilometers. So that's that question. It says the bearing of D from A is 40 degrees. Find the bearing of B from A. So, find the bearing of B from A. It's going to be that this angle plus that angle plus this angle. Okay, so this angle we worked out was 56.1 degrees. So, therefore, just need to add them together. 40 plus 30 plus 56.1 gives me 126.1 degrees. So, answer is 126.1 degrees. So now we need to find the bearing from A from B. Okay, so from B, so the bearing, so this is part 2, it's going to be this angle here. That's going to be the bearing. Okay. So we already know this angle is 126.1 from the previous question. Now, remember this rule, that this angle, if these two lines are parallel, and they are in this case, okay, that angle is equal to that angle, this angle is going to be equal to this angle. So this angle is going to be 126.1, and this is going to be 180. So, the answer here is 180 plus 126.1. It's 306.1 degrees is the answer. Okay. So, again, we know that this is a parallel line because when we talk about bearings, it's always from this vertical line going upwards, okay, and we know that's vertical line as well, so these are parallel, so we can apply this rule to answer this question. Okay, right, angle ACB is obtuse, so angle ACB is obtuse, which is this angle, so it's in between 90 and 180. Calculate angle BCD. BCD is going to be this angle here. Okay. So, how do we do this? Okay, this is a 4-mark question. First of all, let's do the easy bit first. We can work out this angle by adding 56.1 plus 95. and then minusing 180 from that, which gives me C as 28.9 degrees. I'm now going to use the sine rule to work out this angle here first. So let me do that here. So that's going to be 12. Remember opposites. 12 over sine B is equal to 8.9 over sine 30. Okay. I'm going to make sine B the subject, so that gives me sine B is equal to 12 times sine 30 over 8.9. Okay, 0.674 is sine B, so B, inverse of that. So I get 42.4, so this becomes 42.4 degrees. Now I can work out what this angle here is, angle ACB. Angle ACB is going to be 180 minus 42.4 plus 30 from there. So it gives me 107.6 degrees. So now my final answer is going to be 107.6 plus 28.9. So 107.6 plus 28.9 is 136.5 degrees. Okay, is your answer.